Hello lovely people, how are you all today? I hope you're well. We're in the kitchen again, yay! Oh my goodness, it's been so long, hasn't it? Not that I've been in the kitchen, I'm in the kitchen every day, but since I had you guys over here in the kitchen with me, looking forward to this. The main reason I haven't done any recipe videos recently, well, there's a couple of reasons. One, I've been living for months now on stored produce, so think in terms of the squash, ignore my computer, squash, beans, tomatoes, all of that sort of thing. And I tend to make very similar recipes over the course of each month. So for example, I'm going to have to turn that off, you know, if you look in the recipe section on my channel, oh, I don't know, there's got to be 25, 26 different recipes there by now. So with all those, that's the kind of thing I tend to eat over the winter and spring, because it's the stored produce forms the basis of those recipes. So the other reason is, oh, and it's the same today, it's been so hot, I just haven't wanted to be cooking, I haven't wanted to be in the kitchen, so it's been a lot of sort of either salady things, because the salady things are coming in now, or I've been having a sort of a major cooking session once a week, and then a lot of those meals I make, I'm quite happy with them to eat them cold during the rest of the week. Anyway, so apologies for no recipes in the last couple of months, but as we sort of go into the autumn and winter, I'm sure there will be more. I've got a few new bits and pieces in the garden this year to experiment with, so I'll certainly bring you any of my experiments. But today, this is, it's an old favourite. I love it because it's using up waste and it's typical at this time of year because I've just come to the end of this harvest. I'm going to make pea pod soup. Lovely, yummy pea pod soup. So I'm sure that you're all in a similar position, that you're just coming to the end of your peas, you're having your last ones away. I meant to make this video, oh gosh, 6-7 weeks ago, sorry, excuse me, when the peas were first coming. Sorry I didn't get around to it, never mind. If you don't have any peas left, you can always bookmark this for next year if you like the idea of it. You might also, depending where you are in the world, you might just about get away with doing another sowing of peas now. So long as you're not going to have frost at the beginning of October, you might just get a harvest going into October. It's worth a try, isn't it? I love this recipe because, well, number one, it's dead simple. Everything I make is simple. But like I say, number two, it's a great way to use up these lovely, lovely pods. Now, I was mentioning, was I mentioning or was I just thinking it? I don't like mange tout peas. I always grow green peas, garden peas, however you want to call them. I don't like mange tout peas because I find the pod a bit too tough and stringy. I don't like stringy things. Stringy runner beans. So, but by the same token, I don't want to chuck this lovely little pod away because there's some good nutrition in it. It's got vitamin A, vitamin C, a small amount of vitamin K. So yeah, it seems a shame to just chuck them in the compost pile when I can actually make something half decent to eat from them. Let me show you the ingredients and you will see just how ridiculously simple this is. That's it. So I've got my bowl of shelled peas. The peas that were inside this went into a really lovely salad yesterday. I've got leftover of it to have later on today. So yes, a bowl full of pea pods. I'm not going to tell you amounts and weights. You know me by now, I never go by amounts and weights, I just go by what I've got. So that's a good, you know, cupped big handful. Couple of red onions. I would normally use a white, except I forgot to bring any white home. I need to go back to the garden tonight to water and bring some white onions home. So for now, a couple of little red ones. I would probably use one white, but the reds always come up smaller. Some garlic to taste. I'm chucking 3 quite generous chunky cloves in. I've got myself a litre of stock. It's about a litre. Again, I'm not being too fussed and too accurate, but it's about a litre. And then a little bunch of thyme, which will give this such a gorgeous little delicate flavour. I should say, before I even start, this is going to be a very, what you might call a thin soup. Very delicate, but oh so yummy. Right, let's get cooking. I'm starting off, as I do with pretty much any soup I make. My base is the onions and the garlic, getting a bit of a sweat down in a splash of olive oil and a splash of water. That way they're having a bit of a fry and a steam at the same time. Lovely. Just that smell, it's beautiful. In go the pea pods. So when these came home and they were still full of their peas, I gave them all a quick wash at that stage. Just a bit of a rinse off. Some of them got a bit splashed with mud from some heavy rain we had. I also don't trust that foxes haven't been along weeing as they go. But there we go. And there are a couple, and it's too late now to show you, but there were a couple, oh, that one's got a worm in, I don't want the worm. Yeah, where when I opened them up, the peas were really quite over and tough, so I've just left the peas in. So in go my pods, then let's get the stock in. So the idea with this recipe, with this soup, is I want to grab some of that nutrition that's in those pods, but I don't want to eat the pods as they are, because like I said, they're tough and gnarly and stringy, especially the ones that have started to go over. Just to say as well, popping the thyme in now. It's just tied in a bunch to make it easier to pull out when it's done. Yeah, the pods, they're way too tough and gnarly to eat as they are. The idea, I'm now going to simmer them for about sort of between 20 and 30 minutes, depends if I get distracted by something else. But by simmering them now, it will massively soften them. Any of those vitamins that leach out during the process, I'm going to be capturing in the stock. So yeah, get them, bring them back up to the simmer, and let them simmer away for 20-30 minutes or so. That should soften the pods up nicely for the next stage. So yeah, let's pop that lid back on and leave them to it for 20-30 minutes, and I'll go and do something else. I will probably go to the computer to answer your comments. See you in a little while. So it's had about 20 minutes simmering, then I've turned, I've turned the heat off because it's in the cast iron pan. It'll carry on cooking through. I'm just going to hoik out the thyme. It looks a slightly funny colour today because I've used the purple onions, the red onions I mean. It's got a slightly muddy, purpley brown colour to it, but it's not going to affect the taste, is it? Just pop those there. Right, so now at this stage, I'm going to get a bit messy and a bit noisy. I'm going to scoop them out, get them in my blender. It's had a few minutes to cool as well. Ideally one shouldn't blend while it's so scorching hot, but never mind. And I'm going to blitz the blue blazes out of it now. I do love blitzing. Today I'm going to be thinking of the Home Secretary for the Health Service. So give it a really good thorough blitzing. And just when you think you've given it a good enough blitzing, go again. Take that, Boris Johnson. spraying out the top. So the idea is I'm just trying to break it down as much as possible so that I get as much as possible out of it. And then, excuse me, and then I'm going to, oh, there we go, I'm going to tip it out into a sieve. I'll show you this in a sec. Because no matter how much you blitz it, there's still going to be loads of the fibrous bits in. In fact, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this. Can you see in the bottom of the blender? Yeah, you can. So get all those bits out. I'm going to move you in for your close-up, Mr. DeMille. So you can see in the sieve, actually let me just move the blitzer out the way a second. You can see it's really still quite fibrous. But if you give it a bit of a push through, just with the back of your spoon, or the front of your spoon, it doesn't matter. We're all encompassing here, fronts, backs, we don't mind. Give it a bit of a scrunch through. And can you see now that's really, all the juices are coming out and I'm just being left with this really quite tough, fibrous mess. So I will blitz the rest, push even more through, and then I'll show you the finished product. And here's the lovely finished product. So as you can see, it's a thin soup. I suppose if you wanted to, you could add a load of beans and or maybe at this stage add a load of beans, warm them through and either blitz it again to make it thick or just have the beans floating around in it. Or if you wanted it to be thick, you could add a potato. Yum, yum, yum. If you did want to add something else to thicken it, what I would suggest you get to this stage first, maybe make the potatoes, boil the potatoes separately, add them and then re-blitz it. I say that just because if you make it thick to begin with, it's going to be harder to strain out the fibrous bits. Right, it's time for a taste test. I say taste test, but of course I know how it tastes. But I want to share it with you. A really, really lovely, light little soup for in the summer. Such a beautiful, gentle taste. I will say, if you're expecting a pea taste, what's really weird is you're not going to get it. It's it almost I can't speak. I don't want to get my face in the bowl. It almost tastes like mushroom. I know that sounds so weird. Trust me, make some. You'll see what I mean. That very light infusion with the thyme running through it is gorgeous. Really, 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 really yummy. So I'm going to leave you all to it whilst I get my face in the trough. Gorgeous. Do you know what? I've never had this cold. Actually, let me just bring you around a bit because I'm straining to see. There we go. I've never had it cold because I really, really don't like cold soups. I've tried a few times, I just do not like them. However, what I'm thinking is, if you do like a chilled soup, I think this might be quite nice because it's just such a delicate flavour. I think it might work. Maybe if one of you gives it a go, let me know, and then we can sort of share to everyone else that yes, it is worth having cold. I like mine warm. Gorgeous. Right, enough. It's good to be back in the kitchen. Yay, although, look, it's made me really red. It is still a bit too hot to be cooking on camera at the moment. Plus, the harvests are starting to come in, so a lot of my kitchen time at the moment is going to be spent up with washing, chopping, blanching, freezing, prepping, So, bit of a one-off today. I think as we sort of go into September or so, hopefully I'll start to do some more cooking videos more regularly. But for now, I hope you'll give this a go. Honestly, it's so well worth it. You will not quite believe the taste. Really yummy. Yeah, give it a go. And like I said, if you don't have frost till way later on, maybe even try chucking a few more pea seeds in the ground. Right, next time I see you, it'll be back in the garden. So until then, please take care of yourselves. Have fun experimenting in your kitchens with whatever produce is just starting to come in from your gardens. Go wild. Ignore the rule books, ignore the cookbooks, chuck things together and see what happens, because you never know. Like I did with the Pea Pod Soup years ago, stumbled upon it. Gorgeous, what a beautiful, pleasant surprise. So get experimenting. Right, I better get off to the garden to do some watering and harvesting. See you soon.